Do
Welcome
it.
to this week's episode of Marijuana Mind with yours truly, Dr. J. Davis, and my barely legal co-host, Cynthia Brewer. And a great guest today, Willie McKenzie.
Willie. Yeah, so we did get
Willie
the name
McKenzie.
right after we ask, and we never ask before the show. We always wait till the show starts, and then we're like, wait, how do you pronounce your name? So we are starting to button this up and become a podcast that everyone can admire and, listen to. It's going to be great. So today, everyone, those listening to this, watching on YouTube, we have William, quote, Willie McKenzie. He is a CEO, investor, public speaker, serial entrepreneur, mentor, father, husband, and hunter, which we're going to hit on for sure, because I think that's great to add. Willie is the CEO at Left Coast Holdings and for his progressive stance on workplace happiness and fostering an environment that welcomes unions, progressive and collaborative thinking, and provides a refreshing bit of honesty and humility to a sometimes disjointed industry. He's a legacy farmer from Northern California, now operating out of Michigan, and we are so excited to have him on the show today. Me especially, because I kind of poached him from LinkedIn, which is like fangirl stuff. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. That was an excellent intro. It's almost like you wrote it.
It's like parts that you wrote in different social media accounts that I just put together while I was in traffic.
You did. You killed it. I love it.
Thank you. I really
Nice
like this.
work.
So tell me, what do you hunt? Biggest question of the day.
I mean, are you in Michigan? If you're in Michigan, it has to be deer, right?
It doesn't have to be anything.
White-tailed deer in Michigan,
Bald eagle.
elk in Montana, bear in Montana, black-tailed deer in California. I've hunted all over. This is the first time on a cannabis podcast that anybody's asked about hunting, which is interesting though. I like it.
I'm going to tell you something. We are not your traditional cannabis podcast. And Justin Davis, Dr. Davis, has a deer head in his outside fridge. So
good.
Yeah.
Good. I have deer head outside of my office, but just not in here.
Oh no, it's not like mounted. It's like fresh.
Oh, fresh ones, frozen ones.
Fresh
it's
frozen.
in my freezer though. I mean, you never know when you might need a deer head.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you can like take off the fur and like for a stew or something. I'm surprised your little girl, I'm surprised they don't get scared when they open up the outdoor fridge.
Yeah, but they've been my daughters for their whole life. So they expect that kind of thing, to open up the freezer and there's a weird claw or something in it,
Yeah, I don't
Has it been there long?
Yes. The answer is yes. But it's fresh frozen.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Still good.
It scares the shit out of you because it's on the top row and it's right there. We talked about it on the show, but I feel like, Justin, you're going to need to go and do an on location in the just walk outside your house and go and do that. Not today, but soon, because no one's going to believe me.
We want followers, right? We don't want to scare away followers. So
I feel like
it'd be the best idea.
It's true. I know that we're not going to have a lot of PETA fans on the show, but so you've had over 3 years now of measurable and proven success with Left Coast Holdings. You were a legacy farmer from Northern California, which is incredibly impressive because I've watched movies and documentaries about Humboldt and that area, and now you're representing Michigan. What is it like transitioning from that type of market to Michigan, which I'm pretty familiar with?
Yeah. It's a challenge. It's absolutely a challenge. I mean, back in the day, you didn't really have to be that great or that smart or that talented to make money in the cannabis industry. You could be a decent grower, waste a ton of shit, not control your costs, and still make money. And nowadays, it's so incredibly competitive. It's so complex. It's so heavily regulated that it's really, really difficult. This is such a challenging industry. I'm still enjoying myself most days, but it has definitely been a challenge to make the transition.
So I visited Michigan not too long ago for a hemp event here's
Upper Peninsula.
Here's Michigan. You have to do it like this. They taught me this when I landed. And so I landed in Detroit. Other side. Isn't this Detroit?
Yeah, this is where I'm at.
Okay, you're here. I went to Detroit and I had to drive to Litchfield, Michigan, where the nicest restaurant was a Schmapplebee's.
Mm.
And I did get the 2 for $20, and I enjoyed all of it on a king size bed of a Holiday Inn Express. But while I was there in this no podunk town, and I could have flown into Kalamazoo, but no one told me, I bought a strain called Meat Breath, and it was phenomenal. And that's my entire story. Do
I
you
mean,
sell Meat Breath?
we don't have any strains called Meat Breath, unfortunately, although I think that's a phenomenal name.
It is.
The Michigan cannabis market is massive. I mean, it's the second biggest rec market in the United States. Most of the big brands are here. It's got a long-standing medical market, educated consumers. So the products here are good. The market is mature. And like, if you want to be a brand in the long term, when this thing goes federal, you have to have a presence in Michigan.
So do you think that Michigan has kind of helped to foster some of the mom and pop dispensaries, whereas other states have kind of focused on larger MSOs taking over?
Yeah, I mean, Michigan, like the state, definitely made it relatively easy to get a license here. When I applied, there were financial requirements that you had to have assets and liquidity. But I don't know, a matter of months after I applied, they did away with those and they cut the license fees in half and made it really easy for people to get licenses. So on one hand, like that's great for, everyone, right? Everyone who wants to get a license here. Not great for the market, right? It means we have an incredibly saturated market. There's more than 500 brands. I think we're closing in on 800 stores in the state already. So yeah, there's a lot of competition here.
Isn't that just capitalism though? Like, should it be a controlled market, or should it be anyone can do it if they feel like they can get into it?
It depends. So this is kind of like the hypocrisy of the cannabis industry. It's like, I am a capitalist. I believe in free market capitalism, but we are in a regulated market. And when you go into town, say, like one of the towns that we operate in, it's a town of 6,000 people, and they gave out 5 cannabis licenses. And I'm saying that's too many licenses. Like a town of 6,000 people can't support 5 cannabis retailers, and the market will decide who makes it in the long run, right? But in a true free market economy, like pizza places, for instance, you could open 30 pizza places if you want, and only 2 of them are going to make it in the long run. But at the end of the day, like, it's a regulated industry, and I think we have to give a little bit of leeway for that.
It definitely a highly regulated industry, but then you've got, if you compare it to another highly regulated industry like banking or like pharmaceuticals, you've got a lot of oversight, and you've got a lot of like long-term participation, you could say. So when you're operating with your history, okay, you're a legacy grower. You've been here since you are the OG, okay? And what's it stand for, Justin? What does OG stand for? He can never get this. He always says original gangster. Okay.
Ocean grown.
Ocean grown. Thank you.
It depends who you ask.
Well, I mean, I would say ocean grown, because that's where like the OG like genetics came from, right? Like from the California coast or any of the West Coast. But original gangster, I don't think it's original gangster Kush.
No. The in terms of the strain, it depends on on who you ask. There are a number of different claims as to the origin of the real OG Kush.
Of course. That's a good question. That's actually interesting you bring that up. How frustrating is it for someone with your experience and your background to see people kind of bastardize the genetics and the ancestry strains that are out there that have been around for a long time, or crossing them, or Franken strains, which are always fun, where they're just like, we're going to name it whatever the hell we want to name it? Does that bother you?
Not really. I mean, I think that's part of the cannabis industry, is creating things, creating new things. Like, we have a breeding program. We're putting together our own genetics. Obviously, at this point, everything is so crossbred and convoluted. It's all related to itself at some point, I'm sure. But I don't have any issue with people breeding. I think it's great.
Yeah, incest and ancestry, I guess you could say. Because yeah, I mean, like I don't think, and I'm gonna say this full disclosure, I don't think if I was to smoke something right now and someone said it was an OG Kush, I would be able to tell the difference if it wasn't.
No, and I have people within my organization I have a guy that works with me who can tell you by smelling something like the faraway origins of that plant. Oh, this is the original OG crossed with, and he can just tell the lineage just by smelling things. And I couldn't tell a fucking thing. Like if you put an OG in front of my nose, I can't tell an OG from a fire OG from a green crack. I can't do it. I'm just not, my nose doesn't do that.
I didn't think that was a talent people had, but can he also play like music instruments at like an expert level?
No, actually, I don't think
Okay.
he's like, I don't think he's good at much else besides that. But it's like a wine sommelier, right? Like
Yeah.
people
Mhm.
who know wine can put their nose on a bottle of wine and tell you about the tannins and all that
The
kind of shit.
oaky afterbirth.
Oaky,
Yes.
leather,
I
rich
taste forest
mahogany.
floor somewhere here. Yes. I just watched a
Exactly.
documentary about a guy
Yeah.
that was like faking all of that and ended up selling a bunch of fake wine. It's called sour grapes. Anyways, the guy made
I
a
saw
lot
that.
of money. It's hilarious.
Willie,
So go ahead.
I want to hear a little bit about your origin. So Cynthia keeps saying legacy grower, but tell us about what that means and what you were doing and where you were in California, and then we'll get into how that evolved.
Sure. So I grew up in the East Bay Area,
Mhm.
right next to Berkeley. I started selling weed in high school. I sold weed through college. I did not finish college. I picked up a good drug habit there and dropped out. But I started growing like right when I moved back to the Bay Area. I fired up a single light in my garage. I ran that for a while. I graduated from that to like a 12 lighter in a bigger garage up in the Oakland Hills. And then in 2014, I did my first outdoor season. And we were on the Sonoma Mendocino border in a little town called Annapolis up in the Redwood Forest. It was a pretty idyllic spot. And this year is my 10th outdoor season. I've done three regulated outdoor seasons and 7 Prop 215 seasons.
How do you like growing outdoors versus any other way?
I love it. Growing up in the Bay Area, I had this life plan for myself. I thought I'd be a business person. I didn't really know what that meant, but I saw these companies and businesses. I didn't know anything about a rural lifestyle or farming. And when I did my first outdoor season, it was like, oh shit, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to be. I want to be in the woods. I want to be in the fields. The plant is so amazing to me. The speed at which it develops, the fact that in this incredibly short period of time, it can grow fucking 10 feet tall and produce fruit. It's just an amazing plant. I had another business in the Bay Area too. I own a pretty good sized construction company. And so
Mhm.
I had bought this piece of land and like, it started off, I would go up there for the weekends, and then it would be like, okay, well now I'm gonna leave Friday, and then now I'm gonna leave Thursday. And then before you know it, I fucking lived up on the cannabis farm because that was what I liked doing more than living in the Bay Area.
I mean, I've never been to an outdoor grow. Have you, Justin?
Not a large size one.
Besides the off the books grows that you visit in Cali. So we have some guests that choose to be anonymous that grow in the illicit market per se, but they're super successful at it. So we like to support all types of industry. At the same time, I do see pictures of people that are in the West Coast markets that actually do get to take advantage of that because the weather and the permission slip, obviously. What is it that you see is the biggest difference in cannabis as a whole, yield, quality, everything between outdoor and indoor?
I
Or
mean, a lot of people will say that you can't. I mean, you can try and mimic the sun
Mhm.
growing indoors, which is basically what you're trying to do. You're trying to mimic the sun and control the environment, eliminate the risk factors that affect an outdoor grow. And a lot of people say that you just can't do it, right? You can't recreate what the sun does for a plant. And so a lot of people swear by outdoor flower. When we came to Michigan, outdoor flower was not a thing. It's a different growing season here, and people were growing outdoors, but they were growing outdoors for biomass. They weren't growing outdoors and putting out smokable flower into the market. And I think we were probably one of the first companies to start doing that, putting out smokable flower, putting it out in ounces and half ounces for people to buy. And man, it took off. And so people are doing it now in the state of Michigan. We have figured out how to get it to pass testing using some pretty strict IPM and some techniques that we brought from California. And then, we're legacy guys. So we're, I think of legacy cultivation more as an art form. Like, I had never done more than 500 plants. And then you go from 500 to 10,000 to now we're at 49,000 plants. We have 50 acres planted. And to translate that legacy art form to scale, it just doesn't work. It doesn't compute. And so we brought in a guy named Charlie McKenzie 2 years ago, who has, the horticulture degree from Georgia and the experience in commercial ag with the, cut flower warehouses and hemp. And he has been able to bring in some of the more scientific side of commercial cultivation and really help us get to the next level, because on our own, we weren't going to do it.
Why stick with, sorry, Cynthia, why stick with the outdoor grow then? If you're at scale, you're not really producing heirloom plants necessarily at that point. So why not just, switch over to indoor greenhouses where you can control it a little bit better?
We do grow. We have an indoor grow. We also have a couple greenhouses. In terms of like controlling costs and putting out an inexpensive product, there's nothing that matches outdoor flower, right? We can grow outdoors for $100 a pound. And if you're if you're selling flower for $300 a pound wholesale, that's still a good margin. And
that's a really good price for wholesale flower. Yeah. Jesus.
Well, in Michigan, like people were selling our flower, beautiful, beautiful flower that you would be like really proud that you grew, for $25 an ounce in stores. In the stores, retail price, $25 an ounce.
I want to go to Michigan again.
Yeah.
They do have reciprocity when I was there. That's why, because I'm a patient in Florida, I got to buy weed up in Michigan. Even though we didn't have it here in this state, they still allowed me to. So I got to go to the front of the line, take a different door, not pay tax.
Recreational there now, isn't it?
It is.
When I was there, it was, but like, I didn't want to pay tax. So I showed them my medical card. So then I didn't have to, and I got a different menu too, and kind of escorted around like I was going to steal something. I guess that looks sus.
The med market is largely dead in Michigan at this point. Detroit was the last bastion of the medical market. Detroit was med for a long time. They introduced a rec ordinance last year. And so at this point, there's really very little reason to put out medical products into the market. It's such a small percentage of sales. People have stopped renewing their medical licenses, and everybody's just producing rec products at this point.
That's what I think is going to happen in Florida here, because we're based out of Florida. There's a ballot initiative that is being pushed right now that should get recreational on the ballot for everyone to vote for. It's very controversial, but if it does, that's what everyone's kind of afraid of, is that, and we've talked to Josephine, at the Flowery on site, about what's going to happen to patients after the fact. And that's exactly what everyone's afraid of, is like legislators are afraid that everyone's going to stop giving a crap about the medical use of cannabis that we work so hard to get. And they're just going to be like, let's just get high. And that's probably what's going to happen. But like, is that so much a bad thing?
Let's be real for a second.
Let's be honest.
What percentage of the medical patients in the state of Florida are legitimate medical patients, and what percentage of those people are just getting high?
Sir, I have PTSD because of Hurricane Irma, and now I'm afraid of storms. Tell me I'm not sick. You tell me I'm not sick.
You're sick for sure.
I am a sick son of a bitch. I am so ill. And I need medicine, or else I will go ape shit on somebody when it starts raining. It's a
You
real
for sure.
PTSD. I struggle, but I'm a survivor and I'm going to get through this. So yeah, that's an interesting point. I don't know how much merit is behind it, but whatever. I feel like we're all
Whatever.
a little sick, aren't we, here in Florida?
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
mean, look,
it's going to be a huge market here, and it's going to be huge amounts of money, taxable like just coming in the door. Just tax the shit out of it. We already do for tourism. Why not? So
yeah,
we'll see what
you're
happens.
you're 100% right.
I really admire your social presence and forward facing focus, alliteration aside, on personal development and mentoring. So where it's very easy for people, especially online, to say like, I'm an expert in cannabis, like that's not exactly, true. And, sometimes they just, because they dabbled, no one's really quite an expert yet. It's too new, but it's kind of neat that you are implementing like wonderful things. You're reinvesting in our industry and you're helping people with personal development. So you're actually walking the walk per se. Why do you give a shit? There's my question. Why do you do things like that when it's so much easier to not give a shit, especially in cannabis?
Yeah, I care about the industry, and I don't think that the industry is going to get to where we want it to go with the people that we want to have involved unless we start sharing information with each other. And we come from, this traditional background. It's very siloed. We're not talking about what we're doing. We're not sharing information with each other. And so, not only are the OGs not talking to each other, but they're not talking to the people who are just getting involved. And I can tell you what, if somebody who had been operating in a more mature market than me, if I could have talked to somebody from Oregon or from Colorado before I had started my business, I would have made a lot of different decisions. And I would have saved myself potentially millions of dollars and incredible, massive fucking headaches. And so if I can talk to somebody who's just getting started and just, it's not even about sharing your wins, it's about sharing your losses. Like, here are the mistakes I made. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but here are some things that I did that did not go well. And maybe you can avoid these and hopefully use that information to make some better decisions than I made.
What were a few of the worst mistakes that you did make?
Overpaying for a license in real estate, that's huge. When markets open up, there's this fucking feeding frenzy for, real estate goes through the roof. People win licenses and then flip them. And, if you buy a license and you pay a ton of money for it and then the bottom falls out of the market, you can put yourself in a really bad position. That's how people wind up in receivership. That's how people wind up losing their company. That is a huge one, not only for me, but for many people. I overpaid for a license and I had to pay the consequences for it. Launching multiple brands at the same time. I talked to these people. I talk to people who are just getting started pretty regularly. I'm pretty out there about that. I'm willing to talk to people who are just getting started, and then people do hit me up on LinkedIn. And I'll talk to some guys who don't have a big budget, and they're saying, we're going to launch one brand for this and one brand for that. And you're going to launch 5 brands at the same time. Like, come on, guys. Coke has one brand, and within that one brand, they have all these, sub products. Patron has one brand, and then they have 7 SKUs within that one brand. Like, what makes you think that you should launch 5? I launched 4. It didn't work. We're down to 2 now, right? And one of them's really got legs. That's the one I'm wearing today, right?
I want that shirt.
But I wore this because I was wearing a politically suggestive shirt before. I was like, oh shit, I probably shouldn't wear that on the internet. So
what was it?
It just had guns on it, I think. I don't know.
We love guns. We're
know.
God-fearing, gun-toting.
I know you guys are
meat
this
eaters.
is the Florida weed podcast. I forgot. I changed shirts.
You can be yourself with us because
I thought I was going to get judged.
Yeah, no, we're a little Justin literally lives in the backwoods, but like literally, like yeah, it's like all
I have about 60 chickens running around.
But that's where I would go if shit goes down. I would just bring all the guns and the ammo, because that's what I can contribute, because that's what I stockpile. He's got food and he can hunt. But we're not above sticking a bald eagle inside of a Siberian tiger inside of a manatee and being able to eat it like a turducken one day, but
I like that
not
about
today.
you.
How
I'm
do you
just
even think to
saying
say
it's
these
going to
things?
happen. We all know that manatees are like brined for life and they probably taste amazing and we just can't eat them, but I digress. So I like the shirt. It says Caddy for anyone who's listening and not watching on YouTube. So tell us about Caddy. What is the basis behind the brand?
Yeah. So, I mean, I come from a place where we sell weed in turkey bags. And so like the idea of putting out
Sounds
a
like a
brand,
magical place.
it's a magical place, right? The idea of like a brand to me was just cool packaging. And so we just put together some cool packaging in the beginning, put it out on the market, and it didn't really do well. The products didn't match the brand, the colors didn't match the brand. There was really no story behind it. And like sales were slow. And so we stumbled through a couple brands that didn't really make sense, like a mood-based products and kind of like an urban, loud looking brand. And like, it didn't match. Right. And so Caddy is kind of a fun brand. There's a lot of like golfing, jokes that go on about it. And, people take pictures of them smoking caddy joints on the golf course. Don't forget your caddy. It's kind of a cool retro color, like a old teal Thunderbird.
I thought
And
it was
so
like Caddy, like Cadillac. Like,
yeah, you know what? That's the interesting thing. It could be whatever you want it to be.
it's whatever you want it to be. I like that. But no, actually, I can see it like, yeah, I'll caddy for you and just be smoking on the golf course, not actually playing.
Yeah, and and we sell everything in twofers. It's large quantities, so we don't sell eighths. We sell ounces and half ounces. Like all the joints come two in a pack. The vape carts come two in a pack. We sell 15-gram, jars of live resin. So it's all high quality, high quantities, really reasonable prices. And so it's perfect for you and your caddy to get baked on whatever golf course of life you happen to be on that day.
That should be your slogan. We can wordsmith it a little bit. Golf
I
course
just
of life.
made it up.
I know you did.
Just
I
made
know.
it up right
It's
now.
so off the cuff. What you're doing is very organic. So you talked about some of the like ups and downs of, implementing or starting out and paying a lot of money for a license. Were you talking about buying a license or license fees?
So we bought a license.
Okay.
So some licenses I've gotten organically, most licenses I've gotten organically, but I wanted a license in the city of Lansing, and there was one for sale, and the building was for sale, and the building was really expensive, and the license was really expensive, and I fucking paid it anyways, and I regret it. But those are the decisions that we make in this business. I didn't see the retail market collapsing. I don't think anybody saw the retail market collapsing because California still has a strong retail market. Michigan is a very, very unique retail market. And when I say unique, I mean kind of sucky, but it's okay. We're here duking it out. You know what I mean?
Well, California, I'm familiar with the California market from the lab testing side, and it didn't go well. The license was hard to get. It took me a long time to get it. We got it. And then the success is contingent on the results being high enough and to your liking. A lot of growers out there are slinging product that's like, we've talked about a 58% Bruce banner, and it was only $15. And we encourage them to lie more, lie for longer, like make a price point at $150 if it's 58%. We all know that things like that are happening in different markets. Is it happening in Michigan?
100%. I mean, the state has been at odds with one particular testing lab for a long time now. They at one point recalled almost half of the products in the state over the testing practices of this particular lab. This particular lab seems to test everything in the 40 to 60% range, which is very interesting. And then, I guess there's unverified, their processes are not able to be verified by the state. But they have good enough lawyers that they can back the state down. And so, the state just kind of gave all the product back, and, the shit just still exists. So yeah, it's very much an issue here in Michigan. operational to this day.
And they're popular among growers?
Very popular. I think they do like 50 to 60% of all the testing in the state.
I feel like that would be an
What do you
interesting data
what do
set
you
to pull.
think realistically the highest percentage can be for flower?
Like 30% seems really high to me already, and you
Mhm.
start talking about 40%, like what the fuck? I look at this and I'm thinking to myself, I see lots of green matter here. Like there's no fucking way that's 40%
With like
THC.
7% terpenes too. It's not even a liquid.
Yeah.
It should
Yeah,
be
like, come
melting
on.
in my hand. Like, because it
Yeah.
just, the science behind it doesn't make sense for something to be like that percentage, just potency and terpenes. It just doesn't make sense. But
Well,
I guess if it's on a document and you put it on a product, then it's legit.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a
Legit.
doctor, but whatever you said just kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it's fine. It's like I'm I'm not a doctor, but I'll take a look. It's fine. Go ahead, Justin.
why did you go to Michigan? What drew you there?
A friend of mine. So I had in 2017, I had 2018, I had 4 outdoor farms, and none of them were able to go into the rec market. They were all, places where we were cool for Prop 215. But I couldn't get rec licenses on those properties. So it was a bad year for me. We had big fires. I lost all my crops to the fire. Not they didn't get burned up, but they were so smoked out that everything smelled like shit, like fucking smoke. And so I was like, fuck, I don't know what I'm going to do. I sold these properties for loss, and I was trying to figure out my next move. A friend of mine was from Michigan. He owned a bowling alley in this little town in Michigan, and he wanted to apply for a rec license, a retail license. It was a first come, first served basis. So he had people from his bowling alley go stand in line for a week in the rain over Thanksgiving. And we got a license, and we've been here going absolutely ape shit ever since.
Does he still have the bowling alley?
No, don't ever buy a bowling alley. What a horrible
I'm just
investment.
saying, like, what happened to the bowling alley? What happened to the staff of the bowling alley, like, and the property? That would be an interesting.
I think it'd be a
like
good way to launder money, bowling alley.
Yeah, if you want, hey, if you ever want to go back to an illicit
It was
side.
Yeah, right. I think it was only open like half the year. It's so nice here in the summer that nobody goes inside. So the bowling alley was like closed all summer and only open during the winter. It was cool during COVID though. It
Yeah,
was
Rona.
real cool during COVID because we were chilling at the bowling alley all the time, making fucking pizzas and chicken nuggets and bowling with all the families. So it was good.
I had a totally different pandemic.
Did you?
I worked the whole time. That's it. I didn't even get to sit at home and get like fat and like sad. We worked. We were medical necessity, so we had to work. But like, yeah, I would love to hang out at a bowling alley and make little pizzas. Like,
well,
next time
a pandemic comes, you just come on up to Michigan and we'll make chicken nuggets and stuff.
Oh my gosh, it's like it's the dream right there. Chicken nuggets, and I'm totally down as long as
all the bowling alley food, mozzarella sticks, whatever.
That's what I want. I want like the weird cheese that comes with the nachos. Yeah, it's always liquid. It never coagulates. It's crazy. It's science.
He'll teach you how to hunt in Michigan.
So I'm down. Like, I'll hold your stuff. Like
caddy, you'll be like a caddy.
That's where I'm at. I will caddy for you while you hunt. The only reason is not because I don't think it's I don't have like the bone about the ethics behind it. I just don't know if I have the balls to pull the trigger on. I can do it for a human before I could do it for an animal. Is that weird?
Interesting. No, I guess that's normal.
I'm not afraid of the animal. If there was a human coming at me and I was in fear, like I'll shoot you all day. I'll shoot you even if I'm not scared, but I think I might be. And then I'll figure it out later. It's Florida. Like the slogan should be Florida, pew, pew, like that. And then, it's done. But yeah, animals, I love animals more than I like most people. So I don't know if I could actually do it, but I'll hold your stuff. I'll caddy your stuff.
Sweet. Well, I appreciate that.
Many thanks.
It's a very nice offer.
So tell us, you've done multiple, do you host your own podcasts?
Yeah. I've kind of been slacking on it for the last couple months. I just did my first episode again last weekend, and I need to figure out I need to work it into my schedule again. It's something I enjoy. Like I enjoy this. You guys are both reasonably fun to talk to. This is intelligent conversation.
Reasonably
it's nice to get to
fun.
know.
Can we quote you on that?
Please do.
Reasonably fun to talk to by
Yeah.
Willie McKenzie.
It's a reasonably good podcast.
It's a
Yeah,
reasonably good
mediocre.
So no, I really enjoy doing this. Like I had my day today. I woke up this morning, I looked at my schedule. I was like, what a shit schedule you have today. Fucked all day. And then, but there's a podcast this afternoon. So that'll be nice. Or
Something
at
to
least
look forward to.
reasonably fun.
Reasonably fun. I'm going to take that as a direct quote. We're putting on all of our sites, all of the everything. We're going to quote you. You're the biggest celebrity that we've had on. So this is a big deal. So tell us a little bit about Left Coast Holdings. We know that you've got a long-term construction business. I read about that, like how you came up in, it said something on there about painting. Did you do painting with a colleague?
Yeah, I started paint. I mean, that was my first business out of college. I started a painting business. I was like going door to door painting people's houses, and
With or without their permission?
With their permission, and with them giving me money for it.
That was like rogue painting. That'd be so much.
Not rogue. Although I did paint my initials on someone's house really big one time, but that's neither here nor there. That kind of evolved into construction as things do evolve as you get older and more experienced with things. And so, yeah, I mean, I've been involved in the construction industry since like 2006, 2007. I still own a construction company in California. We do homeowners associations, condo complexes, townhome associations, whatever. And that experience has helped me a lot in the cannabis industry because we build all of our own shit. So I have,
That's awesome.
We have a 120-acre farm. 50 of it is planted. We built all of our own buildings. We build our own grows. We build our own stores. We don't get bent over by contractors because contractors love bending over cannabis companies. Like, oh, look at these guys are about to get rich. And it's like, not really.
Yep.
We're just trying to make it. So, and I think that there's always, like, if you talk to a lot of the old school growers, like a lot of them are builders, a lot of them are contractors. The things just kind of go hand in hand. It was a good way to have dual income, if you will, and to be able to explain where your money comes from on some level.
Besides the bowling alley. Yes.
What do you do with the other 100 acres?
It's at woods at this point. So, I think we have expanded it about as big as we could without felling some timber. We need to put up a lot of drying building. We don't have the drying capacity for 50 acres right now. And so we're outsourcing it this year, but like next year, we're looking at yet again, more large scale construction projects. Never ends, right? Never ends.
Are you going to go to any other market?
Right now I'm really focused on like building as big of a platform as we can in Michigan.
Okay.
And becoming, having Caddy be a household name in Michigan. So no, I applied for like 5 licenses in Ohio, and when I didn't get it, I was like, fuck this, I'm never doing that again.
Fucking who likes Ohio anyways?
I know.
Like, whatever good came out of Ohio. No, I actually think that's very admirable because there's a lot of big companies that want to go everywhere and be everywhere, and they kind of forget to invest in the home base, especially in the locations that made you successful. Do you think because of your history in the industry and the fact that you're still in it, because a lot of the originals they didn't want to keep going. Some of them tapped out. Some of them were fed up. Some of them did, make it a little bit further, but it's a different breed of person from back in the day to now. How many different CEOs of cannabis companies do you think you could kick their ass just based off of like the nowadays CEO versus the old school? You know exactly who I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Probably most of them, but I'm more of a lover, not a fighter. I just kind of, it just look like this, right? It's just just a look, I guess.
Well, I like the fact that you're helping out some newer people that want to get into the industry. What is one piece of advice that you would give somebody that was considering this lovely nightmare that is our existence?
Go deep, not wide. Which ties back into what you were just saying. Like, instead of casting this wide net, don't try to do everything. Do one thing, do it really fucking well before you try to do something else. Don't try to dominate multiple states. Don't try to put out 100 different SKUs at the same time, multiple brands at the same time. I'm really a big fan of the asset light model right now. And so when I talk to people and they say, oh, we need to raise money to build this huge facility, I say, don't build a huge facility. Go asset light, leverage somebody else's facility, get a supply agreement with somebody, tell them exactly what you want, how you want it done. They're not selling their shit for good money anyways. They'll be happy to produce it for you. And you basically turn into a marketing and sales agency. Go build your fucking brand before you ever think about investing in infrastructure like that.
I think that's really wise because yeah, like everybody wants to be everywhere, but you're also going right back to the lack of reciprocity and lack of transparency among growers. So how do you get people to want to collaborate and contribute to one another in a market? How do you instigate that?
Yeah, I mean, when people first fire up, they think that they're going to have more than enough demand for all their product, and most of the times that's just not the case. So when you come into a market like Michigan where people are really hurting, like, that opportunity to have a brand deal is very enticing to somebody who's struggling to pay their bills. Oh, these guys are going to guarantee they're going to buy a certain amount of product from us every month, and they're going to, we're going to package it up for them and send it out in the market. They're just going to do the sales and marketing. That's a great deal. I do that for a number of brands. We make Wink seltzers. We make rare product. We have like 4 or 5 different people that we produce for at our manufacturing facility. And that's very common right now. People from Michigan are looking for brands to start up in the state of Michigan because they just don't have the demand for their brands.
So Justin, go ahead.
What strains tend to do better, either just for brand purposes or in your experience for growing, or particularly, I guess, outdoor grows, heirloom?
In Michigan?
That's a good point.
Justin's, he's the physician, he's the doctor. So he's always thinking like,
are you a real doctor?
No, he's legit. Like he was a regular doctor and then he decided to come to the cannabis side, and he's from California, like your stomping ground. So he's a legit doctor. But like he's always got these wheels spinning that he wants to figure out what the best genetic is ever. So he asks,
focus on the sciencey part.
Yeah, the sciencey part.
You ask everybody what the best genetic is that they've grown.
Well, he's a grower. Why wouldn't you want to know that? Like, is it Runts? Yeah. Is it Bruce Banner? What is it?
My personal favorite strain that we've ever grown is the cherry pie that we had for many, many years. And we grew it in my garage back in the day. We grew it in the hills back in the day. And we're growing some on my farm this year. So I'm really excited. I love that strain. It is a beautiful flower. It smells amazing. I don't smoke, so I couldn't tell you about the effects of it, but everything I hear from everyone around me is solid.
I like that you brought that up. So I read an article that you had put out about, you don't have to smoke weed to be in the weed industry. So you obviously don't participate in the industry. You do have an appreciation for it, but what do people get surprised when they find out that you don't participate?
Yeah, I think, obviously I don't come off as a Chad, and I'm not a Chad, right? I was doing this before most of these nerds ever thought about it. But I don't smoke anymore. I have a history of drug addiction. And so I got clean and sober in 2012. And I have continued to be involved in the industry since then, but I have not started consuming THC again. I did try it like 4 years ago, and I had a panic attack, and it didn't work for me. So unfortunately, I did smoke it.
You lit it on fire.
we had just come to Michigan, and we were just getting set up, and the guys were smoking a joint, and I was like, okay, I'll try it. And I just wound up having a panic attack in my truck for, an hour or so. So
Do
Yeah.
you feel like just on a personal level, you don't want to delve into that, or that marijuana is somewhat of a gateway drug that people should be wary of?
I don't think marijuana is a gateway drug. I think I am a drug addict. And so I can get addicted to anything. I get addicted to protein bars. I get addicted to bags of nuts and chocolate. I get addicted to going to the gym. I get addicted to hunting. I get addicted to buying sneakers. Literally anything I can get
Exhibit
addicted to.
A.
And so if I was to smoke and find something that worked for me and I liked it, which I will like it because it's just a matter of time before I find something that works for me again, I would just smoke all day. And I was not that good at being high all day. Actually, I was really good at being high all day. I was not good at being productive while I was high all day.
That makes sense. So it's not
You
so much
can-
addiction as like excess. So like whatever you're going to focus on, you're going to do it to excess, which is why you're
Right.
so successful. in
That's what I was
business.
going to ask, if that's probably one of the reasons you're so successful. When you can
Absolutely.
channel it
Yeah.
into something positive.
Yeah, I don't have a moderation switch. I can't eat one cookie. I eat one box of cookies and I'm looking for another one. I literally don't have an off switch. And so yeah, when that obsessive energy is focused in a good area, it's powerful, right? I like some people take drugs for the kind of stuff that I deal with, right? But to me, I feel like it's a superpower sometimes because I can do a shitload of stuff. I can juggle, I got 30 windows open on my computer right now, and I can hop around between things and get a lot of shit done, and work a lot of hours. And I don't ever forget anything. I don't miss anything because my brain never stops running.
I get all of that except for the 30 windows open because I don't mind the grind. I don't mind the like all day, all weekend. I don't remember the last time I took a vacation. Justin appreciates the relaxation, which is probably good for him. But and you have a family, but like I think you have to grind a little so you can ball a lot, right?
100%,
Yeah.
100%.
Do you feel so it has your insatiable hunger for doing something to excess has actually ended up being pretty powerful for your success in the cannabis space and
Construction.
well, the construction thing, I mean, he picked that thing up right before everything burst. Like we're talking 2006, 2007, pretty sure 2008 is when the housing bubble was like, okay.
Yeah.
And he's
And
like, oh, I'm a entrepreneur. And then
we grew that company, from nothing to
the 8 figures.
to 8 figures. In that time period, we pivoted into HOAs. That's how I wound up in HOAs, right? They collect their dues every single month. They do a reserve study for 15 years. They know for the next 15 years what projects they're going to do, and they're allocating money every month towards those projects. So when 07, to 09 hit, 08, right? And nobody was doing work on their homes, the HOAs were still doing work. And so that's why we pivoted into there, and it wound up being great for us.
That's a really good, that turned out really good for you. It did not go well for others, but I think it's also a testament of being able to pivot. We've had other cannabis professionals on that talk about, knowing when to say enough is enough and being able to redirect the attention to a different project. Or some people just give up at that point. They're like, no, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah. I don't give up. There's no quit here,
Yeah, it doesn't look like you do. You don't look like the type that just like, oh, it's fine, I'll just work on something else for a little bit. You're not a dabbler, are you?
No, there's no turning back, like I have it all. It's literally all on the line, right? Like if you know how many personal guarantees I'd signed for leases and financing and investors, you'd probably shit your pants or something. It's literally, it's all or nothing, right? So there's no chance but to win, right? There's no choice but to win.
Like a fight or fuck off situation.
Yeah. Yeah. Go big or go BK, right?
I think you say fortune favors the bold. Is that right?
Fortune favors the bold. Exactly.
There you go. See, I did my homework. Well, I am very happy that you came on the show. You've got a lot of experience and you're actually what I would consider a true expert, and because you put in the paces, you put in the time, right? Like you've gone through all of the shit and you made it out and you're still incredibly successful. So everything you touch turns to gold. It's actually like, something to look up to, but also like, what the hell is he doing that I'm not doing? Or, like it's hashtag future goals. So I think it's really great. I think Caddy's going to be a good brand. I do like the colors. I think the logo is definitely on point. We are going to need Caddy shirts and then we'll trade you for a Marijuana Mind shirt.
I'll send you guys some for sure.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. I appreciate all the kind words. You guys are great. This was fun.
Well, if there's anything that's coming up on your anything that you're about to do, looking forward to, your company, Left Coast Holdings, you can go ahead and start plugging your socials or anything that's coming up. How can people get a hold of you if they want to try your product? All of that.
Sure. So you can find me on Instagram at Willie McKenzie Official, on YouTube as Willie McKenzie. I did just launch the Elite Cannabis Operators Mastermind Group, which is a networking group for cannabis operators. So if you're in the cannabis industry and you're interested in participating in something like that, go ahead and shoot me a DM and we can talk about it.
Okay, we will link your social accounts and everything that you just said on the episode so that people can find you, and Elite Cannabis Group. So it's a cannabis group for cannabis professionals. Is it like trading information?
Yeah, I mean, are you familiar with the mastermind concept at all?
No, I'm not. I feel like I should, but I have no
Read the
idea.
book. If you read the book Think and Grow Rich, number 2 in the book is mastermind. It is getting together with a group of like-minded individuals who are on a similar trajectory, right? And so very common in other industries and real estate and finance. They all have these groups where people who do the same things, we all get together and we share best practices, we support each other, we push each other. And so I'm a part of a lot of these groups in other industries, but I'm the only cannabis guy in the group ever. And so I launched one for cannabis people specifically because the shit is so unique. I go to these groups and these people don't understand what the fuck I'm talking about. They don't understand my tax issues. They don't understand that my lender just defaulted on a $12 million loan because I have to borrow money from some bookie basically, and the other crazy shit that happens in our industry. So it's a place for operators to get together and share best practices and propel the industry forward.
That's actually really cool. I wish they had more of those because I feel like that collaborative like situation would be really productive for our industry as opposed to like what we're doing now, which is everybody versus everyone. So I think it's great. And I'm so glad you came on. And if there's ever anything that we can help with what did you say? Reasonably acceptable show?
Yes.
Reasonably enjoyable. Or
reasonably
something.
Fun to talk to.
Yeah. Okay. We got to remake the shirts. We're just going to put that at the bottom in quotation.
We're reasonably good.
Yeah. Like medium to moderately okay. I've never been mediocre at best. This is hilarious. We're just going to name the whole episode that. So thank you again for joining us on the Marijuana Mind. This is Cynthia Brewer signing off for this week, and my wonderful co-host, he who is about to be in Tokyo next week.
Tomorrow.
You're going to be in Tokyo tomorrow?
That's right. Tune in Tokyo tomorrow.
Okay. So next week we're doing the late podcast at 5:30 my time, which is 5:30 a.m. your time, right?
Right. I'll be coming to you from Hiroshima.
It better be in the background or whatever. I want to see like the
I just made that up. I don't know
stereotypical
where I'll
Tokyo
be.
background. I want
I
to
have
see
no
like the
idea where I'll be.
Japanese flag in the background. It's going to be 5:00 in the morning, but I need you to get as stereotypical as possible.
Okay.
Just go down into the lobby of the hotel. Yes, hustle and bustle of Tokyo. And I will be in Titusville. Hepatitisville. Yep, just chilling. So we will talk to you next week. Thank you again, Mr. McKenzie, for joining us. And that is all for today. Go ahead,
Thank
Justin.
you. Keeping it lean, keeping it green as always.
Keeping your spleen.